Nature just did something scientists said was chemically impossible, and nobody is talking about it. For 80 years, we were told plastic is forever, that once it's made, it never dies. We were lied to. Because in a forgotten trash heap in Japan, evolution just pulled a trigger. They found a biological assassin, a microscopic hunter that views our garbage as a 5-star meal. If this organism works, it ends the pollution crisis overnight. But if we lose control, it dissolves the modern world. This is the story of the enzyme revolution, and it begins with a credit card. Open your mouth. Scientists estimate you ingest 5 grams of plastic every single week. That is the equivalent of eating 1 credit card every 7 days. It is in your blood, your lungs, your brain. We produced 8.3 billion tons of this stuff since the 1950s. Want to know where most of it went? Nowhere. It's still here, sitting in landfills, floating in the Pacific, waiting for a breakdown that never comes. Why? Why is plastic so invincible? The answer lies in the strongest bond in nature: carbon to carbon. It is the atomic equivalent of a diamond fortress. Bacteria have spent millions of years ignoring it. To a microbe, a plastic bottle isn't food. It's a rock. It's invisible. It's just there. So we tried to fix it ourselves. We invented recycling, and that was our second mistake. Mechanical recycling is brutal. You chop it, melt it, and reform it. But every time you do, the plastic gets weaker. A bottle becomes a carpet becomes a park bench. The bench becomes trash. It's a delay tactic, not a solution. By 2015, the scientific consensus was grim. We were drowning, and there was no life raft. But nature creates life rafts in the strangest places, specifically outside a recycling plant in Sakai City. A team led by Kohei Oda was doing the dirty work, collecting 250 samples of soil, sludge, and wastewater. They weren't looking for gold, they were looking for mutants, microbes that had adapted to the trash. Sample 46. That was the one. Inside this vial, something bizarre was happening to a piece of PET plastic. It wasn't just sitting there, it was pitted, eroded, covered in a thin film of life. They isolated the bacterium. They named it Ideonella sakaiensis, and it was doing the impossible. It was using 2 enzymes. Think of them as molecular scissors. The first enzyme, PETase, attacks the surface, snipping the long, hard chains into smaller chunks. The second, MHEtase, swallows those chunks and digests them into basic energy, carbon food. This wasn't just breaking the plastic, it was depolymerizing it, reversing the manufacturing process. The world freak out. Evolution had caught up. In just 70 years, nature learned to eat our mistake. But then, the hype crashed into reality. Because Ideonella had a major problem. It was slow. Agonizingly slow. To eat a thin film of plastic took 6 weeks at 30 degrees Celsius. At that rate, clearing the Pacific garbage patch would take thousands of years. We don't have that time. The scientific community faced a choice: abandon the discovery or supercharge it. Enter Professor John McGeehan and the team at Portsmouth. They didn't want to wait for evolution. They used a machine called a synchrotron, a building the size of a football stadium that shoots X-rays brighter than the sun. They blasted the enzyme with X-rays to map every single atom. They wanted the blueprint, and then, by accident, they mutated it. They tweaked the structure, trying to understand it, and they made it 20% faster. They had accidentally improved on nature. This was the spark. If we could improve it by 20% by accident, what could we do on purpose? The race for the super enzyme was on. Labs in the US, UK, and China began hacking the code. They combined PETase and MHEtase into a chimeric monster, a 2-headed enzyme. The result? It digested plastic 6 times faster, then 10 times. We are now seeing breakdown in days, not weeks. Companies like Carbios in France built a demonstration plant, a giant stomach made of steel. They took dirty, colored polyester shirts and turned them back into crystal clear virgin plastic. This is the Holy Grail. Infinite recycling. No more oil drilling, no more waste, a closed loop. It sounds perfect, almost too perfect. And that's usually when things go wrong. Because making a bacteria that eats plastic means making a bacteria that eats infrastructure. Imagine a mutation escapes the lab. It gets into the water supply. It finds your plumbing. It finds the insulation on the cables that run the internet. It finds the dashboard of your car. Plastic is the skeleton of modern civilization. If we release a bone-eating virus, the body collapses. This is the dual-use dilemma. We are building a savior, but we might be building a weapon. Biosafety experts call this escape risk. Once a living organism enters the ecosystem, you cannot hit undo. If Ideonella mates with common soil bacteria, it could pass on the plastic-eating gene like a biological download. Suddenly, the microbes in your garden, your walls, and your medical devices start getting hungry. We aren't just fighting pollution anymore. We are fighting the potential collapse of the material world. So, is this it? Are we trapped between a toxic ocean and a dissolving city? No, because the scientists realized something crucial. We don't need the bacteria, we just need its weapon. The bacteria is the factory, the enzyme is the product. If we harvest the product, we control the reaction. Enzymes are not alive, they cannot reproduce, they cannot mutate, they just do their job and die. This kills the gray goo nightmare. We aren't releasing bugs into the ocean, we are building bioreactors. But this safety came with a new challenge: cost. Extracting enzymes is expensive, gold dust expensive. To compete with virgin plastic, which is basically free, this process needs to be cheap, dirt cheap. And nature's version of the enzyme had a fatal flaw. It was a diva. It only worked at mild temperatures. Here is the physics problem. Plastic molecules are tight. To loosen them up so the enzyme can bite, you need heat. But if you heat the original enzyme past 40 degrees, it cooks. It unravels like a fried egg. We needed an enzyme that could walk through fire. And to find it, we had to leave the trash heap. Scientists looked to the compost heaps. Specifically, bacteria that eat the waxy coating on leaves. Leaf wax is a polymer, chemically similar to plastic. And compost piles get hot, really hot. They found leaf branch compost cutinase, LCC. It was tough. It loved the heat. This was a breakthrough. Now we could boil the plastic to soften it, and the enzyme would survive the bath. But LCC wasn't precise. It was a sledgehammer, not a scalpel. We needed the best of both worlds. This is where biology stops and engineering begins. Scientists started playing molecular Lego. They had to redesign the protein's active site, the mouth, to fit the plastic chain perfectly. It's a game of trial and error. Change an amino acid here, see if it breaks. Rinse, repeat. There are 20 amino acids. A protein has hundreds of slots. The number of combinations is more than stars in the universe. Doing this manually would take lifetimes. We were moving forward, but not fast enough to catch the plastic tide. We needed a cheat code. We needed something that could simulate millions of years of evolution in seconds. Enter artificial intelligence. Specifically, DeepMind's AlphaFold and other machine learning models. Biology is essentially folding. A protein's shape determines its function. Predicting that shape is incredibly hard. For decades, humans struggled to predict these shapes. AI solved it over a weekend. In 2022, researchers at the University of Texas used this AI to do something radical. They fed the AI data on thousands of plastic-eating enzymes. Then they asked it to dream. The AI hallucinated a new enzyme, one that had never existed in nature, one built for speed. They called it fast PETase. Functional, active, stable, tolerant. A biological machine. They printed the DNA, put it in a bacteria, and unleashed it on a plastic container. Usually this takes months. Fast PETase did it in 24 hours. Let that sink in. One day, to undo the permanent damage of a plastic tub. And it worked at 50 degrees. It worked in different pH levels. It was the special forces of enzymes. This changes the physics of recycling. We don't need giant billion-dollar processing plants anymore. If the enzyme works at ambient temperatures, you could theoretically have a recycling unit in your house. Imagine throwing your yogurt cup into a localized digester and getting raw chemicals back. Those chemicals could be sold back to manufacturers. Your trash becomes a currency. We are talking about the democratization of waste management, the end of the landfill era. But the AI didn't stop there. It's now looking at the other villains: polyurethane, polystyrene, nylon. Scientists have found enzymes in the stomachs of cows that eat polyester. They found waxworms that eat shopping bags. Nature is evolving everywhere. AI is just connecting the dots. This is the revelation. We thought we had to clean the planet with nets and boats. That is analog thinking. The solution isn't mechanical, it's molecular. We don't need to scoop the plastic out, we need to dissolve it. We are rewriting the source code of material existence. This brings us to the precipice of a new age, the age of biological alchemy. But alchemy always demands a price. And as we scale this up, we are running into a new, darker problem. The first shadow is economic. A circular economy where plastic is infinitely recycled is a nightmare for the oil industry. 99% of plastics come from fossil fuels. If we stop needing virgin plastic, trillions of dollars in assets become worthless. This technology is incredibly disruptive. History shows that when industries are threatened, they fight back. Dirty. Then there is the moral hazard. If we know a bacteria can eat our trash, will we stop throwing it away? It is called the Jevons paradox. Making a resource use more efficient often leads to more consumption, not less. We might view this enzyme as a free pass, a license to pollute, guilt-free, because science will fix it. And finally, the darkest shadow: weaponization. What if a bad actor engineers a superstrain, not to recycle, but to destroy? Imagine an aerosolized bacteria designed to target the insulation of an enemy nation's power grid. It's infrastructure warfare. Scientists are aware of this. That is why the new engineered enzymes have kill switches. They are designed to require specific chemicals to function. Without that key, they go inert. They starve. We are opening Pandora's box. We have to make sure we can close it before the demons get out. The technology is ready. The safeguards are theoretical. We are standing on the edge of the blade. Which way we fall doesn't depend on the bacteria. It depends on us. Because even if we solve the technical challenge, we haven't solved the human one. This isn't just about changing chemistry, it's about changing our relationship with the material world. Let's go back to Sakai City, to the dirt where it all began. It's quiet now. The discovery of Ideanella forced us to look in the mirror, to look at the mountain of trash we built. For decades, we felt helpless. The problem was too big, the guilt was too heavy. This tiny organism gave us something we hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Not blind faith, but actionable hope. It proved that we didn't break the planet permanently, that damage can be reversed. But this hope is fragile. The enzyme is a tool. Like fire, you can cook a meal or burn down a house. We cannot rely on a microscopic savior to clean up our mess while we keep making it. The real transformation isn't in the bioreactor. It's in the boardroom. It's in the supermarket aisle. It's realizing that disposable was the most dangerous word we ever invented. Nature doesn't do disposable. Everything goes somewhere. Everything becomes something else. We are finally learning to mimic that cycle, to close the loop we broke 70 years ago. The plastic age isn't ending. It's maturing. It's growing up. We are moving from an era of extraction and pollution to an era of circulation and regeneration. And we owe it all to a blind, mindless bacteria that just wanted a snack. It's humbling. We thought we were the masters of the planet. Nature reminded us we are just guests, and sometimes the landlord has to send in the cleaners. So what does the world look like in 2040 if we get this right? Landfills are no longer graves. They are mines. We are digging up the 20th century to power the 21st. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is gone, dissolved by fleets of autonomous enzyme drones. Plastic has become the most sustainable material on Earth, because we never make any more of it. We just keep borrowing the same molecules over and over again. The true circular economy. It sounds like a utopia. It isn't, it's just survival. It's the baseline. This technology gives us a second chance. a reset button on a century of mistakes. The question is, what will we do with it? Will we repeat the cycle, or did we finally learn? Nature threw us a lifeline in the Sakai sludge. It's up to us to grab it and pull ourselves ashore, because the bacteria will survive without us, but we won't survive without them. The plastic age is dead. Long live the biological age. If you think this biological revolution is terrifying or exciting, let me know in the comments below. This video took hundreds of hours of research. If you learned something, hitting subscribe actually helps a lot. Nature is full of bizarre solutions to our modern problems, like the fungi that eat radiation at Chernobyl. If you want to see how fungi might save us next, click the video on screen right now.